I now bring in senior journalist Sandeep Unnithan for the latest on that. Sandeep, of course, one question remains. What are you picking up about the USA's possible involvement? How can they get involved? What are the scenarios you are looking at in which way USA can get directly in confrontation with Iran, even though he says, I may do it, may not do it?
Well, Pooja, there's already 50,000 US personnel there in West Asia, even as we speak. Now, that is the 8 permanent bases that the United States has maintained there for several decades. Now, what we are talking about is additional forces that are being deployed into the theater in the last couple of days, and they continue to happen as we speak. We are hearing reports of tankers coming in, towing fighter jets, 3-4 fighter jets each, F-16s, F-35s, F-15s. All of the frontline US strike aircraft are being moved in. You already have B-2s and B-52s positioned in Diego Garcia, that unsinkable aircraft carrier of the United States, 4,000 kilometers south of Iran. One carrier strike group is already there in the Arabian Sea, that's the USS Carl Vinson. A second carrier strike group, which is moving in from the South China Sea, that is the USS Nimitz, is being moved in. And we are hearing reports of possibly a third US carrier strike group that could come in from the Mediterranean, which means that they cover all of West Asia with US carrier strike groups. And of course, they already have their bases, which you've just so elaborately explained, which are already in position. So if the United States actually decides to strike at Iran, Pooja, it's going to be, the first wave of attacks is going to come from Diego Garcia. It's going to be those massive B-2 and B-52 aircraft that carry those GBU-57s, GBU-43s, massive ordnance, which are capable of burrowing deep into the ground and destroying facilities like the Fordo nuclear
for which they will need
plant.
Israel will need USA's help, cannot do without
Absolutely, it can't do it on its own. The United States has to do it. Now, the question to be asked here is, while the US has moved all of these assets into the theater, will they actually want to get involved in a protracted conflict? Donald Trump does not appear to be the kind of person who wants to get into another West Asian quagmire, the way his predecessors, George Bush and Barack Obama, were involved. He wants a quick in and a quick out and a quick win, and then, pronounce mission accomplished. So, he's more of a quick gains, short-term kind of guy. And the big fear that he has, in fact, a lot of the MAGA movement also are severely divided at the moment. They do not want the United States to get into this unending conflict because, let's face it, Pooja, he came with a mandate to focus on the major threat, which is China, right? And a war with Iran at this stage will take away the US's focus away from fighting its principal adversary, China and Russia, of course, and resources, because there are only a certain number of bombs and missiles and GBU-57s that the United States has. If they start expending them in regional conflicts like this, before you know it, the Chinese would have moved in.
Sandeep, a quick question there. Does that mean that Trump can therefore, at least try to go with deal and diplomacy, which is try to bring Iran to the negotiation table and have the enrichment capabilities being restricted? Because another concern would be, if they get involved, they also have to prepare for retaliation in the Red Sea for the Gulf transportation of the ships that are of the USA. So is USA prepared for that too?
Well, it's clearly preparing for that eventuality. The fact that is, if Iran crosses that red line there, which is to attack all of those bases that you mentioned, there are a lot of US bases there and a lot of personnel on the ground. The Iranians have just demonstrated with those wave of ballistic missile attacks against Israel today, hypersonic missiles of the kind that we've not seen being used. In these numbers, they could well target all of these US facilities in the region and try and attack American service personnel. And that would clearly mean that the conflict would have escalated. And then Donald Trump does not get that quick win. He will have to then pump in additional forces and to ensure that Iran is decisively defeated. But then no one knows the end game in this conflict. The way things are going out of control.
That's true. Every day we
there's something,
we heard
there's
of
an escalation every single day.
And also, if the USA gets involved in this war directly, will America become great again? Because that's the whole slogan that Trump wants to push forth, or will it put additional burden? There's been some movement that is being reported from the United States of America. I want to bring that to the notice of our viewers. What is a doomsday plane? we're tracking what's happening with a Boeing E-4B night watch aircraft. Listen carefully as I explain to you why this is called a doomsday aircraft. Now, the Boeing E-4B night watch aircraft that is with the United States of America is actually a mobile command post for the president. And then this aircraft can withstand even nuclear blasts if at all that situation comes to push to shove. It has been used only in exceptional, extraordinary circumstances for the United States of America. There are at least 4 such aircrafts that are in the arsenal for the United States of America. There is one doomsday aircraft, so to say, which is active 24/7. Now, this doomsday, of course, as you can understand, is only when perhaps it's the end of time, if at all it's an emergency situation. There's a movement that has been reported toward Washington itself. Sandeep, what are you picking up on this? Why do you think this is happening? Just too much of a coincidence, alert, standby, or the unpredictable Donald Trump clearly wants to make something big happen?
Well, Pooja, the Doomsday Plane's movement is interesting, and the fact is, if the reports are correct, then it would clearly indicate that the US is moving to a level that suggests that they're preparing for any kind of eventuality, an intercontinental ballistic missile strike even. They're not ruling that out because Iran is believed to have ICBM capabilities. No one quite knows if they don't want to be surprised. That's clearly the objective
Correct.
here, the statement here. And the Doomsday Plane has taken off. It's moved at very significant times in the 21st century. The last time it moved like this was in 9/11, when the United States, the continental United States, was under direct attack for possibly the first time in its history in the manner that hijackers hijacked aircraft into landmark buildings in the United States. That's when the Doomsday Plane immediately took off. And that plane is literally some place where the US president can safely control the forces at his command. Because if he's on the ground, if he's underground, if he's there somewhere, he can still be targeted. But when you're in the air, literally being refueled, you can endlessly remain airborne. No one knows where exactly you are. And the United States, the White House, you can say, moves into the secure air orbiting platform. That's airborne platform that's flying and issuing orders. This was basically devised during the Cold War, when there was a threat of mutual destruction, mutually assured destruction, where if the Soviet Union attacked the mainland United States, then the US president would immediately get airborne, and he would then call on a second strike or, call on his forces. So
just be prepared is perhaps what the USA possibly is thinking on. There's a reason this aircraft is also called the Flying Pentagon. Literally, that if required, this is the aircraft where the administration, where President, other senior officials, Secretary of Defense can actually stay put and manage the affairs. Sandeep, thank you very much for now.